Hi there, and a huge welcome to the Transcend and Succeed show. And on this week's episode, I have Jeff Pearson with me, and we are going to be talking about how he transcends challenges with hydrocephalus. So welcome, Jeff.
Hello, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Dawn.
Now, I know we have a lot to talk about today, but firstly, could you explain what hydrocephalus is and what led you to doing what you're doing now?
Absolutely, thank you. So hydrocephalus is a big, fancy-sounding word that a lot of people translate, and a lot of people know it by water on the brain. If I say water on the brain, people go, oh, yeah. So hydrocephalus is basically happens when one of the you have ventricles in your brain. Your brain is continuously producing cerebrospinal fluid all day, every day. We produce about a quart a day, and it has to go somewhere. And so those ventricles drain that spinal fluid. It reabsorbs into goes down the spinal column and then reabsorbs into your body, and the cycle continues. Those with hydrocephalus, specifically, when I was born with a ventricle that was blocked. One of my ventricles was blocked, and so it did not drain the fluid. And so when that happens, the fluid can store up and collect around the brain, and eventually can compress the brain to the point that it can cause brain damage. And if left long enough, it can actually be fatal. So, that's not good. We don't want that. So at 2 weeks old, I had my first brain surgery to put in what's called a shunt. Mm-hmm. And so that's how they commonly treat hydrocephalus. I was born in 1977, which was 46, but the technology hasn't changed much. That's still their primary way of treating it, is brain surgery to install a shunt to artificially drain that cerebral spinal fluid through a piece that goes into the brain through a hole in the skull, and then a pump called a shunt, and then it pumps it down a cord, and then that cord leads the fluid to somewhere in some area of the body that it can reabsorb more easily. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how it works.
Okay. All right. So is once the shunt's in, is that it? It just continues to drain and everything's good?
That would be great. I would love that. Unfortunately, a lot of us with hydrocephalus, affectionately called hydrowarriors, for a reason, because these shunts actually have one of the highest failure rates of any medical device in history of medicine. So the average lifespan of one of these devices is, according to the Hydrocephalus Association, is 2 to 3 years. So theoretically, I should have had a lot of surgeries by now. At 46, I've escaped a lot of those, and I've had 7 brain surgeries to date. I've had about 15 surgeries overall, but 7 of them were brain surgeries to replace and revise the shunt. So I have made it out very fortunate, only having 7 in almost 5 decades.
Wow, that is a lot of brain surgeries. So living with hydrocephalus has obviously been a very significant part of your life. So can you describe how it has affected you personally and your family?
Absolutely. It has affected us, but really it all comes down to your attitude, which is honestly the only thing you can control anyway. You know, the attitude is the only thing you have 100% control over. And I learned that at a very young age. Um, I mean, it definitely affects every aspect of my life. But in for instance, in elementary school, in high school, junior high, high school, you know, as a child, I saw people playing sports, like people playing basketball, playing football, playing soccer, playing baseball, and with a device in my head that's keeping me alive. My parents, kind of justifiably steered me away from those kind of sports that had me literally banging my head against things. And so they would say things like, well, I mean, I didn't like insist on any of them, but they're like, oh, sports. Oh, yeah. Hey, how about band? Or how about choir? How about things that are less contact sports? And so it was really, they really never made it a big deal. My parents were amazing in the fact that they really made it a thing. It wasn't like you were born with this disease and you can't do this and you're supposed to, they made it very, I think part of it is because I had such a successful childhood with it. I didn't have to have a lot of surgeries. And so it was easy for them to say, just let it lie, and if nothing's going wrong, we're not going to bother it. Don't poke the bear, And so
Yeah.
it was a very, pretty chill childhood and junior high and high school. And really nothing really happened of significance. I mean, I had visions, I had surgeries, I had different things, but really nothing happened of significance as far as difficulty with it until about age 36, about 10 years ago. So childhood was great. Growing up was amazing. So
Okay. And what changed when you became 36?
36, I don't know what that was, the magic number or something. I don't know, but in August of 2013, I started down a road of I've had 6 surgeries since August of 2013, and 4 of them have been brain surgeries, and I don't really know the rhyme or reason for it. I just know that in August of 2013, I had some pain in my abdomen that turned out to be an obstruction of my intestine, which was caused by the scar tissue that was already present in my abdomen from all the previous surgeries I'd had over the last 3 decades. And so, had to have that remedied. So emergency abdominal surgery. And then 6 months later, there was a bacterial infection in my cerebral spinal fluid, which is the fluid that surrounds the brain and cushions it from banging around in your skull. And so that's bad. You don't want bacteria poking around in there. That can kill you pretty quick. So it was actually gathered in a pocket in my abdomen. So they did 2 brain surgeries within 24 hours, had me in the hospital for 3 weeks, got that taken care of. A couple years later in 2018, the fluid wasn't reabsorbing again, so they had to relocate the cord. They replaced the shunt again. And then in 2021, they discovered through a lot of tests. I rode all the rides that day. I was in the hospital for about a week, and they tested just about everything. Finally narrowed it down to that tiny little piece that actually goes into the brain, and it was 100% clogged. So there was no fluid escaping at all, and so they had to do a full revision again in 2021. And so it's all different reasons, but it's all goes back to the same reason at the root, is the shunt malfunctioning. So because they just don't have that long of a lifespan, apparently.
Well, I mean, I like what you said about, it's all about your attitude, because there are others that maybe have the same or a similar condition and probably feel like, they're a victim of life and, maybe fall into depression and then they choose that route. But what you're doing is choosing to see things as a challenge to overcome. And I think that's an incredibly strong mindset to have.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like to think of it as I mean, it's a choice. It's a choice for everybody. You can choose to have a good attitude. You can choose to have an attitude of a victim. You can choose to, be angry. You can, and believe me, don't get me wrong. I've been all of those things. There have been times over the last almost 5 decades on this planet that I have definitely been angry, definitely had some very colorful conversations with God, and definitely had some times where it was, it's natural to kind of say, okay, why me? But really the why doesn't matter. It's what you're going to do with it. Yeah. So I usually snap out of it pretty quick and just kind of see where do we go from here,
Mm-hmm. And I know we've talked before about, everything in life is a choice. So you can either choose to suffer or you can choose to get on with it and make the best of it. That's the only thing you can do, right? Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about Hydro with Hope. What is that, and what sparked that idea for you? Was there something that happened that sparked that idea?
Yeah, so Hydro with Hope is a nonprofit organization that we started in April of 2022. And it is designed around the idea of giving tangible, boots on the ground, help and resources to people with hydrocephalus. And I mean, I kind of think back, there was a moment that kind of popped into my head to start. This was back in 2018 when we were in a doctor's office. We were in a surgeon, my neurosurgeon's office. My wife and I were sitting there, and the walls in those offices aren't the thickest, and so you could kind of hear on this side, you could kind of hear the rumblings of a conversation, and it just didn't sound like it was going well. It sounded like it was, I kind of let my imagination run away a little bit, and I thought, man, I wonder if that family is just finding out that their child's going to have brain surgery, And that made me think back to when I was 2 weeks, what I would imagine my parents were thinking with this tiny little 2-week-old little boy going into the doctor's office to get their checkup and go home and start their life. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're hit with this bombshell of brain surgery. So I thought, okay. So what do we do about it? And I really wanted to just run next door to that room and wrap them in a hug and tell them it was going to be okay and answer their questions. And, but doctors don't like that when you do that. HIPAA frowns on that. So I decided to stay put and stay in the office. But on the way home, I was talking to Catherine saying, what do we do? There's got to be something we can do. God didn't put me here and bring me through all these surgeries with this kind of success. And I'm working a job that I love. I'm raising 3 kids. I've been married for 20 plus years. I mean, this life is amazing. I've got to do something. He's put me here for this reason. So he said, okay, we're gonna do something. And it ended up being Hydro with Hope, which is short for hydrocephalus. And we published a book. It was the first thing we did. We published a journal, which is behind me here. But I've got a copy here called My Hydrowarrior Story. And it's a fill-in-the-blank journal that walks people through from that first moment of, pardon me, my child's going to have what kind of surgery? Walking them through all the ins and outs and ups and downs of the hospital stay, the surgery, the recovery, the going home, the what do we do next, and then there's a medical record keeping section back here, and there's, just a lot of download pages, just a lot of emotional and information download. Just pour your heart onto a page, and so I and there's nothing else like this out there. We scoured the internet trying to find something like this, and this is the only thing out there as a resource like this. And so we want to get this in the hands of every hydrocephalus family in the country to help them through that process.
And how many have you managed to get out into the community already? Not
nearly enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need a better distribution. Is what we need. We self-published it, so it's not nearly in as many hands as we would like. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of people that contributed to the book, that we've gotten books out to, and so they've spread the word, to friends and family of theirs. But like, for instance, there's quotes in here from different people that have hydrocephalus. They're from around the world. That one I just showed you, she's in New Zealand. She was just in the Special Olympics in Germany, and she's in our book. I'm very excited about that. But no, to answer your question, not nearly enough. We need to get it out more, and so I'm looking into that too, how to distribute it better. So right now it's just on our website. So
sure. Well, hopefully this episode will help with the distribution of that, and at least the awareness of it, because people may not even be aware that something like this exists to help them with these kind of conditions, you know. So listen, if we start with the awareness, then the distribution will follow, I'm quite sure.
God willing. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully. That's the idea.
Yeah. So hydrocephalus is often misunderstood or unknown by many. So how do you raise awareness and normalize conversations around this condition?
You know, I get out online as much as I possibly can. We have a Facebook group that's Hydro with Hope. It's a private group for people with hydrocephalus. I also have a page for anybody that wants to be part of it. And I try to do a live every day. I've been kind of a slacker the last couple of weeks, but I try to do a live every day about 7 or 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and just kind of get some information out there, or just talk about what we're doing that day, or talk just engagement. You know, I just want to engage the community so that that's the biggest thing is, you do have a voice and you do have a community, and you are not alone. If you have hydrocephalus, it is not all in your head, by the way. It's real. What you're feeling is real, and there are others out there that want to be in community with you. And so that's part of why we're here too, is to grow that. So. Okay.
And I know, talking of resources for awareness, etc., you have your own TV show called Invisible Condition. Yep. So will you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Thank you. Our TV show is on E360 TV, which is the channel and the network, and the channel is called Achieve TV is where it is. And so if you go to e360tv.com and go to Achieve TV channel, we're right there. And Invisible Condition, it was kind of born out of the experience of doing the book and trying to get that out there. I was approached by somebody about doing a TV show about about what I'd gone through, and I knew that the hydrocephalus hour probably wouldn't last very long. That's kind of narrow. So I said, okay, what do we do? And through some brainstorming and my brilliant wife, being part of the discussion, we kind of came to the conclusion that Invisible Condition kind of envelops it well, and so that covers everything, covers all the conditions you can't see, fibromyalgia, bipolar, schizophrenia, POTS, MS, rare forms of cancer, common things, all kinds of stuff that you would never know by looking at somebody walking down the street. You'd never know you would never know watching me walk down the street that I had 7 brain surgeries. It's invisible.
Absolutely no.
It's invisible. So, and we want to make sure that people, and telling your story is so therapeutic. So important and so healing. And there's so many people that have been on our show over the last several months that it's been on the air that have never done it before. They've never told their story before in a public, forum like this. And it's been so healing for them. And they've said afterwards that it's just been phenomenal. So it's so fun to be able to give that opportunity to people. And then organizations as well, national and local organizations that help people with these invisible conditions in various ways. And so it's been amazing to get to know all these new people and companies and to get the word out.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of conditions really are invisible. They're not, absolutely noticeable. Like you said, if you're looking at somebody, you can't always tell that there is a condition there. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay, now is a good time, I think, for us just to have a quick break. So stay with us. We will be right back after these messages. Hold on.
Holy Hydrogen introduces the most powerful health enhancement device in the world, the Lord's Hydrofix Premium Edition. Studies have shown therapeutic potential for cancer, diabetes, digestive and heart issues, and essentially every organ and system in the body. Visit holyhydrogen.com to see the latest technology that elevates your immune system and fights inflammation. This isn't medical advice, but if you have any health concerns, I strongly recommend that you learn more about hydrogen. Visit holyhydrogen.com to learn more about this groundbreaking gold standard hydrogen generator that for a reasonable price creates therapeutic quality hydrogen gas for inhalation and hydrogen infused water for consumption. Remember, holyhydrogen.com.
So welcome back to the Transcend and Succeed show, and I'm here today with Jeff Pearson, and we are talking about hydrocephalus. And before the break, Jeff was telling us all about his own TV show called Invisible Condition. So and he tells us the reasons, for creating it, and I would just like to know, how has the show been received within the community and beyond the community?
I mean, as far as I know, it's been received very well. Our audience has continued to grow, and guests that have been on have been extremely, blessed by their appearance on there, and the response that they've gotten afterwards has been positive. And I probably should do a better job. I could do a better job. I should definitely do a better job of quantifying that, and hey, how did it go afterwards, and what, have you had response from this or that, or so honestly I don't have a lot of technical data for you, but everybody that I've talked to has enjoyed being on the show and enjoyed the exposure that they've gotten, and it's been fun.
I've watched a couple of your shows, Jeff, and I find your guests to, that they give excellent education from their experience.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I learn stuff. I learn stuff all the time.
All the time.
There is stuff that I had never heard of, never thought it was even a thing. Bioenergetics. I did a show with what is? I've never heard that word before in my life. But two doctors came on and explained it to me like I was 6, so I was very grateful for that. And so it was, and I hope everybody that watched that show got something out of it too, because they explained it so well. And so, yeah, it's been an education for sure, 100%.
Yeah, and I think if there is something that you have never heard of or you don't know anything about, I think it's really helpful to get back to the basics, and start, like you said, if you were, you were 5 years old, because that's the only way to learn it, is to take it step by step. Yeah, you've got to get the fundamentals of the information there to have that understanding. I totally get that. Absolutely get that.
Exactly.
Can you share with us some memorable moments or stories from your TV show? Anything that sticks in your mind?
I mean, there's always the bloopers. There's always the the time when the power goes out right before you hit go. All the fun, all the fun things that live TV brings.
Yes.
Honestly, I think one of my favorite shows that was, I wasn't even part of most of it. It was my wife and my oldest daughter, my wife Catherine, and my oldest daughter Elizabeth was on the show a few months ago, and they were talking about the impact that hydrocephalus and my life with hydrocephalus has had on them, because Elizabeth is 20 now, and so she's the one that remembers the most and that has the best, clearest memory of, Dad riding away in an ambulance, and being, seeing Dad. I mean, I look at my dad and I think of Superman, and so you see a figure that's like that in your life get carted off in the ambulance and get, hooked up to all this stuff, and be limping around the house afterwards, and and so that was a really cool show to see, and to see that perspective, and to hear my wife talk about it, and and Elizabeth talk about it, it was really neat.
That would have been quite worrying for them all at the time.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. So I'm very glad that we got that show done, because I mean, I remember certain parts of it, but it was great to be able to get a different perspective, So
yeah, okay. So from your perspective, from your understanding, how common is hydrocephalus, and what are any misconceptions that you can maybe clear up for us today?
There's a couple of misconceptions that I've heard over the few years. The last few years, since I've had to have so many surgeries, I've talked more about it. Well, it's super common. It's ridiculously common. It's just as common as Down syndrome, by the way. Just as common as Down syndrome, more common than spina bifida. Everybody's heard of those two things, but nobody seems to know what hydrocephalus is. It occurs in about 1 out of every 800 births. So if you will multiply that out in this country, forget about the world, just this country, just the United States, that's 420 something thousand babies born with it every single year. Not to mention that you could acquire it at any time. If you get a bad enough case of spinal meningitis, you get a bad enough concussion that obstructs the flow of cerebral spinal fluid, you fall on the ice and knock your head bad enough that it, swells a certain part, or, it can occur with anybody at any time, not to be doom and gloom or freak anybody out, but it's a very common thing. And so, education is important to make sure people know what it is, because it is out there. And forgive me, I forgot. Tell me the second part of your question.
Oh, no, good old, you're asking me that. No, I've forgotten all about it. The misconceptions.
Oh, yeah. Misconception. Thank you. The memory is the second thing to go, so I just wanted to make sure. Misconceptions. Just don't ask me what the first is. I forgot that years ago. Misconceptions. The biggest one I run into is, for instance, in the last couple of years, I had my most recent brain surgery in October of 2021, and then I returned back to work on a much shorter schedule, and because I had a lot of kind of after effects after that surgery that made it really hard to work. But I was back at work, and so people would walk up to me and say, one person in particular, I love this guy, I love him to death, but he wouldn't stop talking about it, and he said, "Oh, so you're good, you got your brain, so you got the surgery done, so you're good now, right?" I'm like, "No, dude, no, I'm not good. I still have brain damage. I still have a shunt keeping me alive. That was for maintenance. If I hadn't gotten it, I'd be dead. It's the surgery was to keep me alive, not to cure anything." So that's kind of the misconception. People with a lot of invisible conditions see you walking around, in normal society and think, he's great, he's feeling fantastic, when in reality, most people with hydrocephalus have headaches all the time, almost all the time, and pain in their body there's equipment in there that's, in there to keep you alive, but it's not supposed to, really, it's not supposed to be in there. Your body is supposed to be fine without it. So it's kind of interrupting the normal workings of what's going on in there. So any movement could be painful, really. And so that's what I think people don't understand is, you can see me standing here and I look fine, but really, our 1 to 10 scale for pain is different than everybody else's. We could be sitting here at what we call a 2 or 3. For most people, that might be a 7 or 8. So that's kind of the misconception that I see the most often is that they don't understand what we're living with, and what a lot of people with invisible conditions are living with day to day. That people just don't understand. They don't, because they can't see it. It's not out there visual, so that people don't realize it's going on.
And is that what you were talking about? The pain level is different between someone with encephalitis and someone without. Is that just because you are For example, you've got headaches all the time, so it doesn't seem as bad. You've kind of grown used to it. Is that?
I think that's
right?
probably what it is.
Okay.
You build up anybody with any condition that has persistent pain is prone to build up tolerance for it in your body, right? If you experience something over and over and over and over daily, your body's gonna get used to it, and so you get used to a certain level of pain in your body all the time. And that can be a double-edged sword, because when something really happens that needs to be addressed with surgery, sometimes you don't know about it until it's almost too late. So that's happened a couple times in my past with these last few surgeries.
Yeah.
I woke up one morning with what I thought was a tummy ache, and the next morning I was in emergency surgery and have a new 8-inch vertical scar up my abdomen to show for it, because I had to get in there really quick because I almost died. So, but like I said, that the morning of that day, it felt like a tummy ache, So it was because the pain tolerance is so high that sometimes it doesn't. You don't realize what it is until it's really bad.
Yeah, until it's too late. Yeah, too far gone.
Yeah.
And I know when we chatted that you'd mentioned that you are a headache connoisseur. So can you elaborate a bit more on this and how you manage this aspect of your condition in your daily life?
Yeah, I know I'm not the only one out there, by the way. I know that if I asked the general population of hydro warriors, they'd say, yep, well put, well said, headache connoisseur. So a connoisseur, with whatever, with food or with wine or with, is somebody that knows it really well because they have a lot of experience with it, right? So headaches is something that people with hydrocephalus and other related conditions, it's not just hydrocephalus, but a lot of conditions that have to do with the brain. We're used to headaches. We have headaches on a daily basis. A lot of us do, and some are better than others, and some are worse than others. And there was a really cool quote in a book from one of our buddies that we've made friends with over social media over the last couple of years, and he had a perfect quote in there. He said, "Is this something to the effect of, is this a headache that means I'm hungry? Is this a headache that I hit my head? Is it a headache that maybe I didn't get enough sleep? Or is it a headache that I, ate the wrong thing? Or is it actually a headache I should pay attention to and go to the hospital?" Because there's all these different, and you have to be able to tell what's what. And so that's what I mean by headache connoisseur. It's like, sorting through all that and saying, is this serious? Do we need to do something about it? Or should I just pop a couple Advil and move on, and get on with my day? So.
And has it ever affected you badly enough where you just have to walk away from your day, really, and just go rest?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, sometimes. And like I said, every time you have a revision or a surgery to replace the shunt or address an issue with it, you're poking around in the brain. And so there are effects that are left after that, because the brain doesn't like to be poked around with. It's a very fickle animal, and it gets cranky when you do that. And so, yeah, you don't know what's going to come after a surgery or this surgery or that. So it could be anything, could be different every time. And so, yeah, when you feel something coming on, you address it and you say, is this serious? Is this something I need to, and you get to know your own body. I mean, everybody knows their body. I live in my body. I know it better than anybody else. So I can tell whether, when my body's had enough and I go lay down. You have to be intuitive enough with your own self to be able to say, this is not going to end well if I keep going, and go rest if you need to. So not so much anymore. It's been an amazing last month or so, but that I've been able to feel so much better. But for the most part, yes, there are definitely days that you wear out and just have to go take a nap, and your body will do it for you if you don't do it. So
yeah, well, that's right, and it's great that you recognize, your body telling you to slow down or take some time off or go rest, have a few hours sleep. Because most people think that they have to just, really keep pushing and pushing through, but really your body's telling you that it needs to slow down. And it's great that you actually honor that, and you understand that your body is telling you it's knocking down, giving you a message saying,
Right.
behave
It's,
yourself, go for a
hello.
lie down. Yeah. Not a lot of people recognise that, that aspect of self-care. And I think they still perceive pushing through to be the best thing that they could do, whereas actually the best thing they could do is rest, because they'll recover so much quicker.
Well, honestly, I didn't learn that it was trial and error, unfortunately. It wasn't like, hey, you should rest. Oh, okay. And I rested. It was, over that first 36 years, like, remember I said, it was very normal and I would work 12, 14, 16 hours a day and not eat until the end of the day and not drink water, not rest, whatever. And I was like invincible, I felt like.
Yeah.
And then those surgeries started happening, kind of just popping off, all these surgeries. I'm like, oh no. And so I recovered well from some and I recovered not so well from others because I either listened to my body or didn't. And so I had to learn that from personal experience and pain from not doing it right. So, because your body will make you learn.
It does. It's giving you messages all the time. And if we can just be more aware of that and notice in our bodies what's going on, where we're feeling maybe pain or discomfort, and just try to go with it. But it does take a little bit of time to get used to it and understand it and find out what your body's telling you. But it's
and know that it's okay to listen to it and to do that. And it doesn't. I used to feel guilty for resting. I used to feel like I did something wrong. I would wake up and I would make eye contact with my wife, and I would almost be ashamed that I got the rest, and she's like, stop it.
I know.
You needed the rest. Yes. You rested. Well done. Now we can, carry on with the day. Don't ever feel guilty for resting, And so, yeah.
But that's the way we're conditioned. Yeah, that's the way we're brought up. We're conditioned to believe that, to have a good life, you've got to work hard. You've got to work harder than anybody else. And the more effort you put in, the better the results. Whereas I don't agree with that concept at all. I think you need to work to, where you feel comfortable. Once you start to tire, then whatever you're trying to do at that time, you're resisting anything coming to you then. It's not worth your while. It's, take a step back, go for a walk, go and sit down and have a cup of tea. Just step back and away from it for a little while and see how you feel. And it's great that you know how to do that. That's incredible.
With learning and
trial and error.
Trial and error. I definitely didn't figure it out quickly, but it took me a few years and a couple really rough surgeries to figure it out. But yes, I have learned it, and yes, most of the time I do it.
That's good. No, that's great. So you just mentioned all these surgeries again. So as someone who has undergone so many surgeries, what advice would you give to somebody that may have been told they may have to have their first brain surgery or a brain surgery? What advice for them?
The first thing is don't panic. First of all, please don't panic. It's brain surgery, and yes, it sounds scary, and it is kind of scary, to think about what they're doing in there, but if you need it, you need it. Just set aside the fact that you don't want to do it because it doesn't matter. If you have to do it, you have to do it. And there are, the medical professionals, I'm a man of faith. I'm a Jesus follower. Our family believes the Bible and so I take comfort in that, and I just know that nothing is an accident. And if you have to have brain surgery, that God already knows what it's going to he already knows the outcome. He already knows what's going to happen. He knows, how it's going to work and what the recovery is going to be like and everything. So I take comfort in the fact that really I'm not in control. I'm embracing the fact that the illusion of control is not a thing. So I guess that would be what I would say. Just roll with it and be okay with somebody else taking the reins and doing what they need to do to help you. And then if you need help, reach out. Reach out to people, because people want to help. People always want to help, especially when they know that you're in you've had surgery, people having surgery, people, moving to another house, people fixing their car, whatever. Everybody wants to help. So don't be ashamed to ask for it, because people want to help you.
I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, we can't all do everything, and there are people out there with more skills and experience and that have gone through something that you're going through that can actually give you some advice. And I do think that's good, give up control at the time. Be okay with that. Be okay with giving up the driving seat and having to sit in the back for a little while.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice back there.
Yeah. Sometimes it is nice just to take your foot off the gas and relax a little bit, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I agree.
So how do you find hope on bad days?
I find hope in Jesus. I find hope in the fact that he is my creator and he put me together just the way it was supposed to be. And I find hope in the fact that all these surgeries, all the things that I've been through in the last 46 years, I'm still here. The fact that I'm still here is evidence that I have made it through 100% of my hard days so far, right? And I'm still here, and I still have this is another day that he's given me to help others and to love my family and do what I need to do to grow our company and grow our TV show and just do all the things that he has tasked me to do. So that is my hope is that I'm here for a reason, and I just want to be able to hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." So I'm here to do what I got to do, and that gives me hope.
And do you have like a self-care routine, or some kind of routine that you go through in the morning just to kind of get yourself set up for their day, for your day? Is there anything that you do that you make sure you do every day because it helps you?
I've heard so many people talk about that. I know so many people, there's whole shows about that, but I've never been, I don't know. I don't really have a routine. Everybody has a routine, but I don't really have one that I could say, yes, I do this, and then I do that, and then I do that. I like coffee, so I almost always have coffee in the morning. But I don't really have a routine. Like, I get out of bed and then I read for 20 minutes and then I meditate and then I do this and then I do that. Mm-hmm. No, every day's kind of a little different. So I wish I had more of a routine, honestly. I think that would probably be helpful for my mental and physical stamina and sanity. It would probably help. But I really don't have much of a routine. I just kind of been I feel like I've been flying by the seat of my pants for quite a while. So
you just go with the flow, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. Just go with the flow. Yeah.
And wherever your cup of coffee takes you. I have actually given up coffee. I loved coffee, absolutely loved coffee. And I did a 10-day cleanse just over 2 weeks ago, and I had to obviously detox from the caffeine, and that first day without it was just a major killer. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I felt like I had my head in a vice.
Oh my gosh.
But
Wow.
after that, I was absolutely fine. And do you know, I sleep so much better without it now. I all the way through the night, I really deep sleep. So I don't think I'm going to go back to it any time soon. I'll stick with my herbal teas. But
That's
I
okay.
think sometimes it's good that you don't have, a set routine. I think sometimes it does do you good to vary from that and do different things. Because I quite often say to myself, right, tomorrow morning I'll see my husband off to work, and I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes, and I'm going to write in this journal about all the thoughts that are in my head, and I end up sitting playing Wordle and Chordle and communicating with my family.
Well, and honestly, for me, I'm kind of the kind of, everybody's a different personality, right? And my personality is kind of an all or nothing kind of thing. And so, like for instance, we cut out gluten out of our diet several years ago. We said we're going to try it, see if we feel better. I feel 1,000% better without it. I'm not allergic to it. I'm not going to die if I eat it, but I feel so much better. Well, so I'm one of those guys that's like, okay, we're not eating it anymore. Okay, good. I'm out. Yeah. A lot of people have to, wean themselves off and have to do all this stuff. So I'm kind of surprised I don't have more of a routine, because I could probably just say, look, this is what I do. But there is kind of a benefit and an advantage to not having that strict routine, because it's almost like you're more free to kind of just do what you got to do, and you don't feel, because I've had times in my life when I've tried to do a strict routine, but then I kind of beat myself up because of that all or nothing attitude. If I miss something, if I miss a day, or if I miss a part of
And
the
then you would feel bad. Yeah.
then you feel bad, and I don't
Yeah.
need that. I'm not gonna beat myself up for something dumb like that. So I just kind of said, all right, we're just gonna roll with it. I don't want to put too many requirements on myself for the beginning of the day.
Absolutely. And I think the big thing is to not beat yourself up or berate yourself when you do miss something. I used to do that all the time. I was really bad for it.
Yes.
If I missed my exercise, or I forgot to do this and forgot to do that, I would get quite upset with myself. But I really think it's not, don't be upset with yourself at all. Okay.
Well, it doesn't have to be perfect, launch and adjust 76% and ship it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, it doesn't have to be, if you wait till it's perfect, you'll be waiting forever.
Forever. No such thing as perfection. Yeah.
Nope.
Because if you're striving for perfection, you'll always be disappointed, because it's our self-limitations, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
It's how we perceive it to be. Yeah. Jeff, what advice would you give to parents or caregivers supporting a child that has hydrocephalus?
I would say probably be compassionate with the family, because they're probably going through a lot. First and foremost, realize that, especially if this is their first time, realizing what's going on and stuff, like, it's probably deer in the headlights, at this point, and they're needing you to be the guide that helps them and not scares them more,
Yeah,
and
to be supportive.
Yeah, be supportive and listen and care for them. Don't just, you don't have to relate. You don't have to, everybody's like, well, you have to relate to their pain. No, you don't. You just have to know that you care about their pain, and that we don't need to talk. We can just sit, and just sit in it for a little bit and know that somebody's there with you. And honestly, that's what happened with, I think it was in 2014, there was somebody that I worked with that just came and sat with Catherine, and just sat, or maybe it was 2013, one of those first surgeries in the last few years. And she just came and she just sat with her. And, and that was huge, just being able to cry, or to talk, or to, let's just go get something to eat, or a cup of coffee or tea or whatever. And
take a walk, get some fresh air.
Yeah, just get some fresh air, whatever. Do a couple laps, walk around a little. Just take your mind off of the crazy that's going on right now and kind of just be with somebody,
Yeah, and I think it really is a big thing. Like you said, for somebody just to sit, some people just want somebody to listen to what they've got to say, to get the worries and the concerns off their chest
Yeah.
and just offload it, and the process of speaking that out is very healing and very cleansing at the same time. So it really is a big thing. Just sit and listen. It doesn't matter, like you said, whether you relate or whether you totally understand. You just need to sit there and listen to people, and that will really help them tenfold.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, there's a part in our on the introduction of our book that, if you don't mind, I'm just going to read it real quick. It's real short, but
Sure.
It says, having lived with hydrocephalus for over 45 years, I can say 3 things with 100% certainty. Number 1, God is faithful all the time. Number 2, God is in control. That's a good thing. And number 3, life does not have to be perfect to be amazing.
Yeah.
So that's what people don't understand. People think it's, especially if you watch social media, for crying out loud. Get off.
Yes.
Don't look at that and think it's real life. Life does not have to be perfect to be great. Even if you have a condition that's going to be with you for the rest of your life, it's not going to be perfect. There's nothing about me that's perfect, but it can still be awesome.
Yeah, and I would add one more thing to that. Don't watch the news either.
No.
Stay away.
Nope. Nope. We've never had cable in our whole life. As a married couple, we've never had cable, and I hate the news. No, I don't watch it either.
I find it upsetting now. I can't watch it any more than 10 seconds. I'm like that. No, just can we put that off?
I feel like I have to shower afterwards.
I know, it's gross.
Dirty. It's gross.
So negative. It's not nice at all.
Exactly. I don't need that. No.
Well, we've just got a few minutes left, but I wondered if you would tell us if you have any future initiatives or projects that you envision for Hydro with Hope.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we do. We are in the process right now, actually, of redoing the whole website. So it's still going to be hydrowithhope.com. But we have an amazing company that we've partnered with that we're gonna redo the whole website, and so we're gonna have a link to go to some of the shows if you want to watch some of the TV shows. We're gonna have a link that you can donate because it is a nonprofit. There's a link there now that you can go donate to the work of Hydro with Hope. We're gonna have coaching. I don't like that word. It's more, but I want to do calls. I want to have a set schedule of calls where I can get on with parents that just need somebody to listen and somebody to answer questions and somebody to talk to, and get on there a couple times a month and just do it. We're working in the very infant stages of an app that we're still not exactly sure what we're going to do with it, but so yeah, there's some things down the road. Future is also different versions of the journal, like a caretaker version, a version for the parents of the child with hydrocephalus, maybe a sibling version, maybe a like my dad has hydrocephalus. What do I, that kind of. So these are all kind of on the list for later, but all things that we're excited to get out there for more resources.
Great idea. Absolutely great idea. In the last minute or 90 seconds or so, I know I asked you for a fun fact about yourself. So can you tell us that?
I'm trying to remember what I wrote.
Minor league baseball, there's a hint.
Oh, yeah. So I am a singer, and I have been for about 30 years. I love to sing, and I traveled with a group called Up With People, and I had the opportunity to do the national anthem at a minor league ballpark in Pawtucket, Rhode Island for the Paw Sox, and I've also done the national anthem at our minor league ballpark in town in Colorado Springs, and I got to sing at the Olympics in 1996. So it's been anybody that says somebody that has had brain surgery can't have a cool life is full of it up to here.
Totally wrong.
Yeah, it's been an amazing life so far, and I can't wait to see what's next. So.
Well, it's going to continue to be amazing, let me tell you. I can just feel it for you. And you've been an amazing guest today, Jeff. Thank you so, so much. You have just enlightened me so much and filled me with so much encouragement. You really have. And I love your non-profit. Let me just pop up your information here if I can find what I did with it. There we go. So anybody that wants to contact Jeff, here's his website here. Feel free to reach out to him through his website with any questions that you have about the hydrocephalus or maybe even the non-profit.
And our email, you can email Jeff. It's jeff@hydrowithhope.com is the easiest way to reach out. So,
okay. Yep. Well, the very, very best of luck with everything that you're undertaking. And thank you so much again, Jeff. It was an absolute pleasure to speak to you today.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be on your show. I appreciate it.
Lovely to have you. Thank you, sweetheart. Take care. And thank you to the viewers. And we'll hope to see you next week. Take care for now.